as far as the figures in these elections are concerned, there's a lot of information that we need to pass across to you. I'm being joined by China's television election analyst, Larry Arogundade. Thank you so much, Mr. Arogundade, for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
What a day is looking like, because tomorrow is almost here.
Yes, we can even say tomorrow is here.
Already, yeah. Because it's just a few hours before the election. And the executive director of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo, he just was also here on the board. Thank you so much, Samson, for joining.
Always a delight.
How do you feel? Been several months of planning, isn't it?
Several years of planning. And we are here. Like Larry said, we're here. It's just past 9, so in the next 3 hours, we'll be
We've crossed
the almighty February 25th.
We'll be here. And hopefully, the surprise, I remember I was at the airport. I was traveling out of the country to cover an international event in 2011 when the election was, I returned to the country when the election was postponed. 2015, a similar scenario played out. 2019, there was a repeated due to logistics. But this time around, the INEC chairman said, election we hold.
I think it's beyond what the INEC chairman said. It's what we see. Because at least in all the 36 states, we can see deployment of materials from CBN to the state offices, from the offices to the local government. That's significant progress. We weren't in this place in 2019, where we're actually wondering if this election wasn't going to hold because we couldn't see INEC deploying those materials. So this is quite a departure. And I would say to a large extent, we give INEC a pass mark for the preparation so far. There are challenges, but the fact that we are here at 9 p.m. and we feel some level of comfort that the elections will hold tomorrow, I think it's quite a marked improvement.
In fact, shortly before we came to the studio, I was speaking with some of our colleagues in Umwa here, Abia State. We're trying to also monitor the situation of journalists, and you said we're at CBN. The materials are being so we have live reports from journalists across the country, some of the states, talking about what is really happening. And I'm sure we also have a similar situation in some other parts of the country. Where we think we should be, and we're quite hopeful that things would work out well.
Over the past years, I've been very difficult to convince until I see the delivery.
Yeah.
You remember when you get to the election, the day before election, everything looks perfect until the very moment when things start falling apart.
Yeah.
And but just for a moment, because guys, we've been monitoring these exercises. I've been speaking with a lot of my colleagues who are on the field. Let's check with Dele Omoyeni, my colleague who is covering for us. Anambra will be covering one of the areas where one of the top front runner in the race will be voting tomorrow. Dele, it's good to know that you are with us. What can you see? What is going on in your area where you are covering? What can you tell us at this moment?
Always good to see you. Well, we're in Agulu, the hometown of the Labour Party presidential candidate. And both Onitsha and Agulu are calm. People are going about their normal duties. Of course, you understand that not much security has been deployed at this time. Hopefully, that will happen tomorrow morning. Also, we're in Agulu town. By the way, I had to do some rehearsal to make sure that I pronounce that name properly, Agulu, the hometown of the Labour Party presidential candidates. And there was a town hall with members of the town, but of course we're not allowed to cover that because they didn't want us to feel that they were still campaigning. So of course he met with the people in the town, and the mood in Agulu town is joyous, it's celebratory. Of course they're hoping and praying that their son perhaps will become the second president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria after Nnamdi Azikiwe. Interestingly, Nnamdi Azikiwe's town, Oku, is just 40 minutes drive from Agulu town. But of course the mood here is
all right, Dele. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dele. I will say this. Please be safe. as you're doing the job. Just keep your eyes open, and I wish you the very best in your coverage. Hopefully, we will see more of you reporting from that area of the country. We pretty much gone to northeastern region of the country, the north central, the northwest of the country, and every part of the country that Channels Television is covering. That's Dele Omoyeni covering some area of Anambra State for us, and we'll be seeing him covering that much tomorrow. Larry and Samson, let's dig into some of the figures. We've gotten feelers across the country. Let's feel some of these figures and what we know now. So, Samson, 18 political parties. I said some time ago that ignore this figure. It's insignificant. It's important, but insignificant as far as this election is concerned. 93 million registered voters. Remember, it was about 84 million in 2019. So we are able to add 10 million to it. I mean, about 12 million to it in the CVR. But look, this is a figure that anyone needs to focus on. The 87,209,007 votes, I mean, PVCs that have been collected. That is a figure that we need to work with something. Absolutely. And 1,491 electoral constituencies, 774 local government areas. What are these figures telling you, something?
No, they do tell me a lot, because if INEC says they are 93%, collection rate, it really suggests that a lot of people collected their PVCs. And so you look at this 87, so just about 4 million additional sort of registered
compared to
2019. But then these people are going to be voting in 176,606 polling units, because of this particular figure, in 240 polling units, INEC will not be conducting elections in those polling units. And so it's quite a high number of people. And the goal is 50 or 60% of people show up, then Nigeria should celebrate its democracy. And our expectation is maybe 50 million people. If 50 million people come up tomorrow to cast their vote, then Nigeria would have set a record. And I think there's no better time to set a record than now, to demonstrate the resilience that in the face of the crisis of either fuel or the naira or even the insecurity, Nigerians are rising up to say, we will still want to determine the next leadership through the ballots and not through violence.
I was wondering that you're not one of those of us who do not have the naira notes in our pocket. I've not seen the notes in a while.
Larry, no, we've seen it online.
Larry, what does this tell you? So one thing is significant here, and you have experience of so many years of monitoring the transitions in Nigeria's politics and election and governance and all of that. So I look at this figure, 176,000. Not only that INEC must have presence here, the political parties also need to have presence here. Agents. So if you don't have presence here, that's where they're talking about roots and structures.
Well, I think we expect a significant number of the political parties to have presence in those, polling units. And let me say, when you were introducing this segment or the discussion, you did say in an area where one of the front runners, I think, for us in the media, the 18 candidates are front runners. But we also know that there are some alliances, some collaboration. So it's possible that you may have a party that collaborates with another, and one agent is overlooking for the other. But if you would really be considered to be good front runners, we'd expect you to have presence in all these polling units. And it's really not just the political parties and the INEC. We're also talking of even the law enforcement agencies, the police. They would have to have presence to maintain law and order. But looking at the previous figures, in terms of the number that has collected PVCs, and Samson's projection that if we have 50–60%, we would celebrate. I think that figure also tells me that some segments of the populace had actually gone beyond saying, we want to be involved, to actual demonstration of that through the collection of PVCs. And so if we recall, in Osun State, we noticed that among those who really registered and collected PVCs were young people. So I feel that that figure is also telling us that more younger generation of Nigerians are showing their interest in the political arena, and I feel that that could also be a factor in this election in terms of what may be possible outcome. So for me, it's quite positive to see this development. And
15,331 contestants, and there are 4 different elections. The presidential, the National Assembly, the governorship, and the State House of Assembly elections. So we have 15,331 contestants running in those offices.
Well, I mean, because we have 18 political parties, so we should not be surprised that we have this number of contestants.
It was more in 2019.
Well, it was more. So what this tells us is that some of the parties are not running candidates for all these offices. I think that is what it tells us, and that is why, again, then we also have more political parties contesting as against what we have now. So that would be my own interpretation of that particular figure.
This is one interesting area. So what we've been able to do is to identify the states that have the highest real number of PVC collection, and the usual suspects, and they've been able to pull those figures. The usual suspect, Lagos standing as the highest in this case, followed by Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, Rivers, Delta, Bauchi, and on you go. What do you see? Any major difference from, they're the usual Big Ten that we always see in our elections, Samson?
Quite frankly, I was just looking at the data for 2015. If you look at the 2015 data, if you look at the 2019 data, and the 2023 data, these top 5 states have dominated the number of PVC collected. They are also what you call the battleground states.
Absolutely.
Because anyone who secures the highest number of votes here may likely coast to victory.
So you're talking about the KKK states?
But now you need to add the L state. So it's LKKK. But Rivers is also one sort of arena of heated political competition. And I think that from what you can see, it's just that the turnout for amongst the top 5 states, Lagos have been very poor with turnout for elections compared to the other compared to the other states. But you see, Lagos still top.
Lagos State is part of the 5 lowest states in terms of the rate
of
percentage
turnout. But it does appear
of even collection of the
PVCs. But it does appear that there might be some high appreciable increased turnout for Lagos because of the level of mobilization, or perhaps one of the candidates also comes from Lagos State. But this is really interesting. It's expected, but if you've got this figure and this figure show up, at the elections, then this target of attaining a high turnout rate might be achievable.
So now, Larry, this is where I want you to come in.
Okay.
The surprise in all of this is here.
Anambra.
This is the first time a southeastern state we figure among the big boys. When I say big boys, advisedly, of course, because in terms of voting numbers, there are the usual suspects.
The big persons, so that we can be gender sensitive in our language.
So the big, all right. So, but when you see Anambra feature, could there be any reason why Anambra had that high number of collection rate, or the number?
I would think that is pretty obvious. We have a presidential candidate coming from that particular state, and it's also a state that has its own rich political history. in terms of governance in Nigeria. Dating back to the first republic, the period of where we had governor generals. That state has also produced a vice president of the country. So it's a politically active state, and maybe that level of being active has been further activated by the presence of that candidate. But like Samson was saying, so one thing is to have this high figure of PVC collection. Another thing is also for the voters to actually turn out. For Lagos, I'm sure it's going to be a whole question of, why do you always have that low turnout? Could it be because Lagos is actually cosmopolitan? That you have almost everybody represented in Lagos in terms of the ethnic nationalities, and perhaps during elections, people leave to go and vote in their respective, states. That could be an underlying factor in a state, like Lagos.
Should I add one? Should I add one factor that could be possible?
You could.
Some people have told me that on election day is the day they try to rest because of the hustle and the bustle and the traffic situation in Lagos. So because there's no work on that day,
yes,
so
there's no
it's
work.
an opportunity.
This time around, my projection is we'll probably have a higher turnout of voters than in previous elections. But it's not just Anambra that is interesting. Yes, we have the same big players when it comes to PVC collection. But you look at Borno State also. I think that is quite significant. If you look at past problems of insecurity in that region, and Jigawa, people really don't pay that much attention to Jigawa. It's always about Kano, but we're looking at about 3 million collected PVCs from Jigawa, and I don't think that should be taken for granted. So, but what this tells me one way or the other is that, of course, like I said, we advisedly, we don't try to say these are front runners. We take all the candidates as front runners. But from what we are seeing here, we are seeing states where presidential candidates come from. We're also seeing states in these top 10 where vice presidential candidates, come from. And to that extent, it's going to be interesting what role these states would play in terms of determining who would become the president and who will go to the Senate and the House of Representatives, because we're having those, two crucial elections, tomorrow.
Sure, I mean, I want to look at it.
Do you know the actual surprise here isn't Anambra?
Okay.
Well, the actual surprise is Ogun.
Okay.
Now, Anambra in 2015 was 11th. In 2019, it moved to 10th. No, it actually moved to the 12th state.
12th, yeah.
And now it's moved to 11.
Because so I know it's never featured in the
and
fourth
because
10.
of the off-cycle elections, you can explain.
Yeah.
But Ogun is the shocking one, because in 2015, Ogun was 26th on the ranking for collected PVC. And then 2019, it moved to 23rd on the ranking. But now it's amongst the top 10 states. So something must be happening here
in Ogun State.
Because
could it be
I'm
that
actually surprised.
I'm
surprised to see Ogun amongst
I'm
the
not
top
surprised, 10. Really. Okay, Katsina, it's in the region of about 3.5 million. That is the home state of the president. We can mention that. The president is not running, so we can mention his name. And we can also say Ogun is also the home state of the vice president, who at a time was an aspirant. And that could also be a factor. But I agree with you, it's quite a surprise, but it also shows some level of, I think one of the studies we would need to do is to look at the demographics of these figures in terms of gender, in terms of age group. So could it also be that younger generation of Nigerians are becoming more politically active in that state? That could be a factor. But it's still significant that Ogun has moved to join, the big league. And so in terms of, if we're looking at it geopolitically now, we're looking at 4 states in the northwest.
Yeah.
That will be quite interesting. We're looking at
It's a domination
Lagos.
of the northwest. Actually.
Well, so northwest has
It
4.
has always
It
been.
has
Northwest
always
has 4, and that is.
So you see the coloring there.
Yes.
And then you see the coloring. Northwest has 4.
The heat
Yeah.
map.
And southwest
Yeah.
has 3: Lagos, Oyo,
Ogun,
and
and Oyo.
Ogun.
Yeah.
And then
South
south
has 2.
has 2: Rivers, Delta,
Delta.
southeast
southeast
1,
one. Yeah.
and then north central.
Yeah.
Quite significantly.
North Central
True.
has been the home of
Niger, Plateau.
of the largest in the North Central. So
Exactly.
let's look at these figures. So established. These are the number of collected PVC, and you see what it means in the entire number of the registered voters. Now, see the fragment of the uncollected. I think there's a whole lot of work that's being done by everyone, the civil society, the media, in getting people to, I mean, the ones that I'm not really happy with are the political parties. It seems that they've forgotten that part of their duty is also voter education, which I've not seen so much of them doing. So we've also tried to do a bit of analysis of the 7 highest collection rates. So now it gives us the real picture of those who are the states that we have more people who came out or who went out to collect. And you see what? I talked about a surprise the other time. Anambra State. The second with the highest rate of collection of PVC. So there's something that is significant here.
I think, quite frankly, I look at these figures, and every time I see 99%, I get worried.
Exactly.
And it gives me sometimes palpitations. That are you sure these figures are really correct? And these figures are coming from the state. Yeah. Because what it means is you just have only 1% of PVCs that are uncollected. But this is happening within a context where people are complaining that they've not collected their PVCs, or you have unprinted PVCs. So, quite frankly, I will be concerned about, you know, some figures, especially when they return things like 100%, because it's just impracticable that everyone, you know, who is on the register did collect, you know, their permanent voters card. What about people who are dead? You know, what about people who couldn't locate their PVCs? Well, there are just a lot of cases. So, whilst there were high collection rate, but I think we should also be careful and to really interrogate some of these figures when they come. And it's just in the interest of transparency. But I think if you look at all the states, Anambra is the outlier because it's from the southeastern block. But all the other states, you know, are from the northern parts of
no single one from the southeast,
the country.
I mean south. No single state from the
none from the
southwest.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it, Samson, from what you're saying, look, Bauchi State, northwest, Katsina State,
no, northeast, Bauchi, northeast.
Oh, sorry,
northeast, Bauchi, northeast.
So you have Gombe,
Yep.
also Borno, and northeast.
And then
it's actually a game of the northeast.
Northeast
and then you have 2 states from the northwest, Katsina and Kebbi.
Yeah.
But if you look at this, if you go back to the map, the region with the highest number of collection, it's actually the northwest.
Northwest, yeah.
Followed by, I think, the northeast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the northwest, you know, it has the highest number of registered voters.
Exactly.
It has the highest number of polling units.
And highest number of...
it's just the region with the highest. You can call it the zone with the highest. It's the highest in almost everything.
Let's look at this. The lowest.
You know, we talk about food baskets when we're looking at some parts of the country. It's not looking like the vote baskets.
Yes, I mean you're very right.
I think we're looking at
the northwest
or the vote bank, like they call it.
The vote bank. Yeah, the vote bank.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, they have.
I don't want us to use bank because of the whole currency crisis. Because that could provoke some anger. We don't want people to be angry for them. We want them to come out to vote tomorrow.
So, Larry, look at it.
The kind of vote basket.
Look at this.
Now,
Oyo, in terms of lowest, southwest. Oyo, southwest. Ogun, southwest. Ondo, southwest. Lagos, southwest. Yaga, you need to send your researchers to the field to find out what.
Sure, I think it's about mobilization.
Exactly,
honestly, it's about mobilization. Yeah, but Larry, you wanted to.
No, I just feel that we would need to still interrogate these figures, like I said, because when you begin to put percentages to it, it becomes something that you really worry about. What it was just about saying, it's also about mobilization. Yeah. It's also about how people perceive this thing, the importance they attach to PVCs, to voting in elections. And it's not just for civil society alone to really study this. It's also for political parties. You were making the point that many of the political parties don't see their function as including voter education. And voter education is about that basic of getting people to register and getting people to go and collect their PVCs. And I'm now wondering, does it mean also that people who come from other areas who live in these states have actually returned to their home states to register and to collect their PVCs? I'm a bit surprised about Oyo State, because Oyo State is supposed to be the political capital of the Southwest. That has been the seat. That was the seat of the regional government in the days of regional
the second and the third
politics.
Republic,
exactly, almost everything that even still happens now. When the various Yoruba interest groups and so on are meeting and everything, they go to Ibadan. So you would think that Oyo State and Ibadan is the largest native city in Africa, still is. So you think that you would want to see some higher level of collection of PVCs in those states. So it's quite worrisome that you now have these picture. But then it's also about the number of PVCs that are actually collected. So what is low in terms of percentage may also not be low in terms of number, and then we need to balance all this.
But quite frankly, if you look at this from a zonal, from an aggregate point of view, this collection rate is actually an improvement from the from the Southwest, from previous. So in 2015, the collection rate for the whole of the Southwest was about 68%. In 2019, it moved to about 76%. And now it's moved to 86%. So there is that progression, and it's progress. And I think it just boils down to mobilization.
And I'm sure that of Osun State also...
Yeah, because of the Osun election. It's just about mobilization. It's how well, are people, paying, the sacrifices and enduring, to participate in this process. For me, I wouldn't actually say the Southwest is not performing. I'd say if you look at the trend from 2015, there has been a rise and its progression, because moving from 68 to about 80-something% is actually progress within a span of about 4 years.
We need to run now, but there is one aspect of this conversation I'd like us to weigh in on, and is the manipulation risk assessment index. I thought that Ezenwa Wagu was going to join us here, but he's missing. His chair is here. I don't know where that man is. But talk to us about this, Samson and Larry. Your group have come out with this report, and when you say an index, that means there are scientific postulations or positions that you have gotten to that has given you that position on what you have found out. So the question is, what are the manipulative tendencies or this manipulation report? What is it all about? And what do we need to be worried about something, Larry? Tomorrow is here.
Well, okay, the election risk manipulation index looked at 6 variables. And the first one is INEC capture. The second one is tampering of voters' register. Third one is voter suppression. The fourth one is resistance to election technology. And we're talking of beavers here. The fifth one is history of election fraud. And the sixth is election litigation. Now, some of these, we had to be worried about them before the election. But now that election is taking place, I think some of these variables we still need to worry about them. So if you look at INEC capture, for example, it's about preventing INEC to perform its functions. And INEC capture could then be in the form of ad hoc officials or INEC officials not being allowed to do their work, or disruption, and so on and so forth. Then voter suppression. This could also be an interesting development, because if you deliberately provoke violence, although the good thing is that the Electoral Act now empowers INEC to cancel elections based on some problems like violence, but there could be targeted disruption just to really prevent supporters of a political party from exercising their franchise. The third one I will talk about and allow Samson to come in is resistance to election technology. We all now know that beavers is very, very crucial, and one way or the other, beavers must be made to work. This is the basic ingredient. This is the basic tool that gives the correct picture, because it's used to accredit and also to capture actual voting. Again, we don't want a situation where there are threats to beavers, either whether
Larry, we need to go.
Exactly.
A tough job I want to give you, because I know, Samson, you have some kind of education.
I wanted us to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're totally out of time. So if you can wrap up quickly, just in about 60 seconds.
No, you need to hold
this
one
is
as
mine.
well.
Okay, go ahead, Larry.
Yeah.
When was the last time you voted, though? All right, Samson.
Well, so this is a sample ballot paper, and tomorrow, for viewers, you're going to get a ballot paper with the logo and where you need to thumbprint. Now, for want of time, we just want to show you how to fold your ballot paper when you thumbprint or when you finish thumbprinting. So once you thumbprint on the box, right? This is how you fold the ballot paper. Okay. You fold the ballot paper this way, and then insert it in the box.
In the box.
The reason why you should fold it this way is so the ink does not smear or spill over. Because if you thumbprint here and you fold it like this way,
then
the ink will spill on another box.
And that will be like double voting.
And that will be double voting.
And then it becomes invalid.
And it becomes invalid, and it will be a rejected ballot. And if your ballot is rejected, it means your vote will not count. So all you need to do is, once you thumbprint, just fold the ballot paper this way. This is the correct way.
As if it's a long envelope.
Yeah. This is the correct way to fold your ballot paper and insert it in the box.
All right.
That's the way to prevent rejected ballots tomorrow.
That is an expo. That is a vital information, and that is a hack.
An exclusive.
An exclusive. Thank you so much, Samson.
Always a
you've done, you and your team, you've done a very great job.
And
thank you so much.
Team as well.
Thank you so much. But there is something, Larry, thank you so much indeed. There's something that I'd like to tell our viewers that we will not unravel tonight, but tomorrow. It's going to be the most exciting time you will find on television, and perhaps in election coverage as far as this part of the country, this continent is concerned, thanks to the partnership with China's Television and Yaga Africa and some of our friends who are making effort in ensuring that there is transparency and equity in our electoral process. Don't miss it. We're opening our studios at 7 a.m. and we're not closing it at all, because all through the period until the last result is announced, we will be here. And this magical board will be doing some magic. Don't miss it out for anything in the world. Keep it on, but even if you're not at home, you can watch on your mobile. That is one thing that Channels Television gives to you. ChannelsTV.com, on YouTube, wherever you may be, on the go. Thank you so much, Larry. It's good to see you. This is going to be your second home, same way with Samson, because in the next couple of hours and days, we'll be here, and hopefully the results are announced early enough.
Third home, you mean?
Thank you.